welcome to the Vox Podcast. Bonnie and Tim here. Bonnie out in Texas land, Tim in Californiaville. Bonnie, how are you today?
You know what? Winter came, and I'm not pleased. But even then, when I say winter, I mean like it's 30 in the morning, and then in the afternoon it's 60. So it's really only like winters in the night.
Somebody just posted a funny meme online, and I don't remember what it said, but I remember the sentiment. And it was something about like we have winter, then we have false spring 1, then we have winter 2, then false spring 2, and then winter 3.
Yeah.
And right now we are in false spring 1, I believe. And
there you
winter
go.
is going to head, because right now it's pretty nice. It was warm yesterday. But we're going to have we're in the false territory, and then we're going to have like a real winter. Everything's late too, so it's like it's hard to judge.
I know, it's weird. I know, I feel it because I don't want to get my hopes up because I'm afraid we'll get hit with cold. We got snow last week.
That's crazy.
I know, isn't that weird? But then it burned off by like 9 a.m. So it's gone. Hey Tim.
Yes.
I think we should tell the listeners about something we found out that we have in common.
Which is?
Our love for Connie Britton.
Oh, because we were just talking about our crazy daughters, so I didn't know if we were.
Oh, that is also
if we're
true.
hanging out there.
Okay, so Tim, at least I don't know if you love Connie Britton, but you've at least watched.
I
some
do
of the
love
same
Connie Britton.
I love her too. Okay, and I gotta tell you, so one of my favorite things to do if I ever follow an actor and actress from a series to a series, like when they obviously like die off.
Like
or
say someone
on.
was transitioning from Friday Night Lights into Nashville.
Oh my gosh. Siri is answering me because I said series. She's now talking in the other room. Yes, exactly. So I like to pretend that is one fluid character that went, right? So she's like, I make up this storyline. Like she had this life as a coach's wife. And, you know, we thought it ended fine. And then she was like, no, this has to be about me, too. And so she bailed and she moved to Nashville and she became this huge, huge pop star. And then that got old, too. She faked her death. And then she moved to Newport Beach and starred in the Netflix series, Dear John.
And she's on that. I haven't seen it, but I've seen the commercials that she's on a 911 operator. It was like a 911 like procedural show. I think so. I think she's like the actual lady on the like a dispatch.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I gotta see. I love her. Did you see Dear John?
I haven't seen Dear John, but I remember when Nashville came on, and because the characters are not tremendously different. I mean, like Friday Night Lights is arguably Tammy Taylor's story.
Oh, she's so
right?
good. Mm-hmm.
And Nashville was her Raina James story until she died, and then it just was like everyone's like, why are we watching this still? Probably most of you were like, why were any of you watching this in the first place?
But that's because she faked her death and she moved to Newport Beach and she has on Balboa Island and she has all this money and she started decorating for him.
There it is.
So now we know what happened. So for all of our listeners who are wondering about Nashville, you now know.
Spoiler alert, she dies and moves to Newport.
Oh, dang.
All right, so some prefaces for today's episode.
Yep.
It is, I would say it's pretty PG-13.
Yes.
So if you normally listen to the podcast in the car with kids, you may not want to. You may, unless you're already far along the line in that conversation with your kids. But we are talking about sex, and there are some more detailed language than not.
Yeah, and to be fair, she says that you have to, and you'll hear this in there, start early, educate early, use all the right terms. So maybe it's a good spot to listen first.
Yeah.
And then go back.
Maybe have that conversation with your kids before we have that conversation with your kids.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But it's a great conversation, and I would imagine it could be triggering for some people, just because we do talk a lot about purity culture. We do talk about shame, resentment,
mm-hmm.
yeah, all that kind of stuff. So there could be parts that you feel are like hitting pretty close to home. But that's kind of the point, right? We wanted to get into those topics because they are the topics that, these are a lot of the ornaments that hang on the tree, so to speak, when it comes to this topic.
Yeah, and we had a lot of people write in from Vox saying these are things that they learned in purity culture, but also I would say 98% were like, and I'm still dealing with it. And I've been married 15 years or whatever. So we wanted to have this conversation to really declare that, like, hey, we grew up in this and some of that hasn't gone away. So maybe we could start to have that conversation now instead of just saying that was all bad. But maybe put some words to it. Why was it damaging, or why was it helpful? And how can we do better going forward? So I think you're going to enjoy it. I really do.
So here we go. This is Bonnie and I with Dr. Celeste Holbrook.
Hello, Celeste. We are so grateful you are here. Thank you for joining us. And you are calling from Dallas, right?
Yes, technically Fort Worth.
Okay.
So we don't associate with Dallas. I'm just kidding.
You draw a hard line in the sand there.
It's a hard boot in the sand, my friend. Fort Worth and Dallas are very different.
Where's Plano?
We consider Plano Dallas. So
okay, because we have a ton of Plano listeners.
Oh,
hello Plano. We love Dallas.
Hello Plano.
This is a quick pivot. I appreciate that.
Yes. Meet your audience where they are. Hello, Plano. We're so glad you're tuning in today.
Well, we're so happy you're here. So Celeste is a sex therapist, and I found you via Radical Wellness and other podcasts you've been on. But we were super excited to have you so that we could kind of discuss a healthier narrative around sex, and especially those of us that grew up in the purity culture. There's a lot that's sort of intertwined, and we want resources to undo some of those things, and also a better narrative to give to our children and to younger generations. So before we dive in, how did you get involved in this work? What's kind of your few-minute storyline of what drove you to this work, and maybe even like what you like the best about it?
Oh, wow. First of all, thanks for having me. My mission in life is to provide safe spaces for people to talk about sex. And I think that podcast is one of the best because you can listen with your earbuds and you don't have to be reading a big book with the word sex on the title. So, so I grew up in a conservative community, and I was kind of given this message that many of us were, that you wait until you were married to have
right.
Sex, however that's defined. For me, it was defined as penetration. And because I'm an Enneagram 9, I followed the rules and I waited until I was married to have penetrative sex, although I did a lot of other really, really fun stuff that helped me out actually after I got married. And I got married in Austin on Town Lake.
Oh, yes, you did.
And I got married in the morning because my daddy said that if it doesn't work out, you haven't wasted a whole day.
Oh my God.
Got married in the morning, walked with my brand new husband over to our hotel room, and proceeded to, take off my fake eyelashes and fake hair and Spanx and, strapless, backless bra.
Yeah.
And totally expected yes, exactly. Totally expected my husband to be like on the phone with a lawyer about a bait and switch. But
it's like, this was smoke and mirrors. And
this was not what I signed up for, dude.
Totally.
But that didn't happen. He's a loving, amazing man who just handed me a little glass of champagne. And so we had sex for the first time. It was incredibly painful. Did not get better our first whole year of marriage. And I started to grow resentful and angry and sad. And that's not really great emotions for a first year of marriage.
Right. Yeah.
I waited, and sex was supposed to be good. That's what everybody told me.
Yeah. If you follow the rules, it's like you're awarded this prize at the end of a lifetime of amazing sex. Totally.
Yeah. Like it's prosperity gospel of sex.
Yes. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. It is. And lots of us get sold that. So I saw the OB-GYN. The OB-GYN after a year said, I don't see anything really wrong with your anatomy. But maybe after you have a baby, painful sex will go away, which is terrible advice.
Yeah, you were like, do you mean that then there's no sex because we're so tired?
Right.
Is that your definition?
Phenomenal advice.
Go away.
Like at that point, we weren't having any type of sex that would create babies. Mm-hmm. So, right. That would have been impossible anyway. Right. So I didn't realize that at the moment, but that's when kind of the lights turned on for me. And that's when I started to become the person I needed, because I didn't know who else to go talk to. I had no idea what to do. So went through this process of kind of sexual renovation, figured out what messages I needed to let go about shame and fear, and remodeled our sex life together, and did a lot of work mentally and physically. And finally we started having good, great connective sex, but my pain had been essentially caused by fear and shame.
Wow.
Not necessarily anything that was physically wrong with me. And so I figured if I could help myself get through this process, I could probably help other people go through the process. And that's probably my favorite thing, is helping people go through the process of figuring out their own sexual beliefs and value systems, so that they are liberated to have connective and pleasurable sex.
Wow. Gosh, that is fascinating. You know, we talk a ton about in this podcast of like how, because this is how you mostly hear it, like trauma, how it shows up, body keeps a score. So I have some of my own trauma, and when that is triggered, well, not so much anymore because I've done a ton of work, therapy and EMDR, but when it's triggered, it shows up like in my hips and in my back, and it like affects me. But it's amazing to hear you say that, like, there was nothing wrong physically. It was an undoing of trauma, in a sense. Would you say that, of like these wrong messages of, because shame and fear, those to me both seem traumatic?
Yeah, I would say 100%. I would put those in the line of trauma. And I always say your body, just like you just said, your body doesn't really forget. So I've been told my whole life, if you have sex before marriage, bad things will happen to you. So I'm scared.
Yeah.
And if you have sex before marriage, you will be less than. So now I feel shame. And so then, I signed the marriage certificate, and all of a sudden all those feelings are supposed to just go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the rumor.
That is the rumor.
Didn't work for me.
It didn't work for us either. That was definitely not our story. And what's funny is I saw, so we did on Facebook and then on Instagram, like all these people could write in. I did it on my personal page, but then we did it on the Vox page too. All these people could write in like stuff they had, quote unquote, learned, good or bad, from purity culture, stuff they were still carrying with them. And to your point, this dichotomy of like what should happen before marriage and what should happen after, this woman wrote in, and I was like, oh, some of these things that people wrote in, I thought, oh yeah, I forgot that I felt that way, or that was told to me. And one of the things was like, for a woman, she was like, we can't be, I'm not allowed to be sexy, right? Like before marriage. But then after marriage, I'm supposed to be like super sexy so my husband doesn't cheat on me. And that last part brings up a whole thing. But can you kind of talk about like what happens if we find ourselves in this scenario of, like you did, like I did, like I think so many of us did, where we believe in narrative and then all of a sudden we're just supposed to drop it, but we don't have any tools or resources on how to do that? What would be your first step in identifying that maybe that's what's going on, right? Like it could be in your marriage, in your sex life, in your patterns, even just the narrative in your head. I don't think people always know that that's what's happening.
Yeah. I love this question because I am a practical sexologist. So I'm not a therapist. I'm not a sex therapist. Right. I'm a behaviorist.
Oh, excuse me.
So
okay.
The work just looks, it's okay. The work just looks a little bit different. So I'm really action oriented. Okay. So I tell people like, okay, we've talked about this. Here's the communication things I want you to talk about with your spouse. Here's the sex activities I want you guys to engage in. So I'm really practical.
Yeah.
So I developed this kind of like 4-step process for it's just as a framework, because when we think about making our sex life better, we go online and say, like, everyone wants to spice things up or make things more spontaneous. And you're only getting information that's like 10 tips to, make him squeal,
like
or
a
10
Cosmopolitan cover or something.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, it's so very basic and so focused on the physical. But unless you are able to undo shame and fear in your brain, all of those physical things are not going to help you. All the sexy lingerie in the world and all the sex toys are not going to make your sex life better unless you address the underlying root of what's going on to make sex bad for you in the first place. So I really wanted to make organized ways to undo some of those messaging.
Yeah.
So starting with just awareness, like, if you're listening, you can sit down on a sheet of paper, write sex is ... and then just data dump everything that you feel about sex. Like, what is sex? It feels like responsibility, a chore, it's painful, I love it, it's pleasurable, whatever it is for you. And then on the other side, write down my dream sexual experience would feel like, and then write down all the feelings you want to experience, because all of our behaviors are based on things we want to feel, right?
Yeah.
So become aware of where you are, where you want to go. And then the next step is deconstructing.
Yeah.
So what are all those messages that you got? Like, which is why I love that you asked your audience, what were those messages that you got? And then understand what they meant.
Yeah.
Like, I got the message that what I wore dictated how men behaved.
Yep.
I
totally got that message. Yep.
Yeah. Yes. I got the message that I was a brownie, and that if I had sex before I was married, I would just be a half-eaten brownie and nobody would want me. Right.
Yeah.
Or I'm a chewing gum, or I'm a flower that takes the petals off, or whatever it is. I am an object. I am a stumbling block
Yeah.
for other people's sexuality. So you write down all of those messages, and then you see what the core feeling underneath those messages is: fear, shame, guilt, whatever it is. And then you start to unwind them.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to unfold and unwind what those messages are, what the root is, and how to lovingly release them.
Yeah.
So it's a process for sure. And then stepping into vulnerability, like, okay, now that you know where you are, where you want to be, and how you got there, what's the next step? Like, what can we do to step into a little bit of vulnerability so you can find growth? And for some people, that's like, I want to learn how to have sex with the lights on, or I want to learn how to ask my partner for sex, or I want to learn what I like because I don't know. Right. So vulnerability, and then just repeating that process over and over again. So that's like a process that I find organizes the way in which we renovate our sex lives.
I like that you said that, especially because I think writing them down, the exercise of even doing just that, I'm sure uncovers and reveals stuff you didn't even know that was so deeply rooted. So one of the things, going back to what our listeners said, and even I personally resonated with the most, was we heard a lot of answers about that had to do with shame and fear. Sex and purity culture was often talked about as like a few things. Number one, it was like the most unforgivable thing you could ever do. Like it was, and when you put that up against, and I think still in the church, that is a big message. But when you put it up against like all of these other big issues like genocide and like all of these other things, it just seems so insane. I know we're all laughing, but literally like we talk more about how bad sex is than we do about like, hey, what can we do to help our neighbor? So it's like, it's so backwards. And like, as our friend Tim Gamba says, he's like, we're so obsessed with sex in America. It's like, it's unreal. But like, I think, so that plays into the shame, right? So I want to kind of dive in there a bit about shame, and then also talk about fear. Like there was a big thing, at least for me, and what a lot of people said too, of being terrified of it. So I think I've shared this on the podcast before, but I don't really know. I had one of those Bibles. It was like a teen study Bible, you know, where you has like markings and like tidbits and stuff. Well, there was like somebody that wrote in, well, not really, they just made it up, and it was like a letter to Sam, and then Sam would write back the person and like answer them a question. And so one letter in there was about sex, and somebody said like, I want to have sex with my boyfriend, we're not married, we're both Christians, we're gonna have sex. And Sam wrote back, I'm not kidding, okay? And Sam wrote back and said, having sex before marriage is like putting a cat in the microwave. Everybody gets burned. And like that was his answer. And I remember, you know, I'm 11 and I'm like, oh my gosh, you can't. Nope. Because like all you can see is that visual. If someone tells you that's
a terrifying visual.
That's what sex is like, you're like, no. But then the message, oh, but I guess after marriage, like it's no longer. Like something happens. It's no longer a
different kind of cat
in the microwave.
Yes.
So like that was terrifying. So there is a lot of
insane.
I know, and there is some good things. We can talk about the good things that came from purity culture too. But I want to discuss these messages, and I'm sure you've heard it a million times around shame and fear and how we could address them, like you said, and find a new way forward so that we don't perpetuate them in our own lives or in our kids' lives.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I mean, you know, when you're talking about, you know, bad things are going to happen to you if you have sex before marriage. Yes, that is a shame message, but initially that's a fear message. If I feel like I'm going to go to a place and burn forever, if somebody puts a penis inside of my vagina, like that is a fear message.
Right.
And to be able to just say like, oh, but then after your wedding day, like this is going to be great.
Yeah. It's like, it's so confusing.
Such a dichotomy.
It is.
It's so confusing. And, you know, couple that with a lack of education about sex in general, even if it was about like, here's some education for when you do get married.
Right.
There was just none of it. It was
a cat in the microwave. I mean,
it was a cat in the microwave.
That's what I went with for a long time. Yes.
Oh, I mean, just totally, utterly ridiculous.
Yeah.
I distinctly remember being told I was going to be chewed up chewing gum or a brownie that was half eaten if I had sex before marriage. And this produced immense amounts of guilt for any kind of sexual thought or feeling or anything.
Yes. Yeah. Because I mean, they do follow it up with, even if you just think it, it's the same as doing it.
Yeah.
And so you're like, I'm so
screwed.
screwed.
The 10 Commandments twice. Don't do sex and don't even think about it.
Don't even know. Nope. Yeah. So like what, I mean, it's like, and I mean, I guess that now I'm giving you too many questions, and that was part of it too. It was like a bunch of men wrote in that was like, I've been told I can't lust and can't think about sex, but now I feel weird if I think about sex with my wife. So like, how can I rewrite that? And then a bunch of women wrote in and they were like, I was always told it was for the men. And so I was a weirdo if I had any sexual thoughts. And even now married, I feel like I can't get pleasure out of it. You know what I mean? It's like these stories that are being told to us about what it is and what you can and cannot do.
Yeah.
Sam is still in there.
Sam.
Sam.
Talking.
Who the F is Sam, man? Why did he get like carte blanche on your sexuality?
He did. You know what? He said some 11-year-old girl who loves animals, this is gonna get her.
Lord. This is gonna resonate with her.
And it did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure it did.
We gotta scare these kids out of having sex.
I mean, essentially that's what it was. So let's kind of back up to what you said earlier about like what purity culture was trying to do. Yeah. So what I believe what purity culture was trying to do was trying to protect us from something that adults did not understand themselves. So I think they were trying to have a new way of like talking about sex. So the generation before the Josh Harris generation just like didn't really talk about it at all.
Right.
But weren't also given negative messages, which is still an implicit negative message, but better than you're going to hell if you do this.
Right.
So they were trying to do better, I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think theologically speaking, there was a shift there too. Like with the kind of boom of evangelicalism, there was a more focus on like you turn or burn. So like a bunch of the messages during that time was really focused on hell. Right.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
So I think what they were trying to do was create a conversation about sex, because now we're going to take the conversation and take it into our hands. But really what they did was create just fear and shame around sex and not necessarily education about sex, because they didn't really know what to say other than don't do it before you're married. And so, when we're talking about undoing that kind of messaging, it takes a lot of work and really understanding what it was that you are carrying, what it is that you are carrying, and how to like lovingly release them. And sometimes that's inner child work. Sometimes that is, speaking to that earlier version of yourself and saying like, listen, I know you got told that you're going to hell or that you were a brownie. And that's really frustrating to you. And that earlier version of yourself keeps on coming forward and saying, listen to me, like I am scared. I am ashamed and I am scared. And I keep coming in my 39-year-old self, in my bedroom, and those voices keep coming up. So soothing those inner voices of the past, is one of a lot of ways that you can do that. And also sensuality work. So our senses are just the use of, if you're privileged enough to have all 5 of your senses, sensuality is just the use of all of those. So if you think about a toddler being sensual, they're like sitting in the grass, tasting the grass, looking at the grass, throwing the grass, smelling the grass. Being sensual keeps you in this current moment. And so you cannot experience anxiety from the past or the future. You can only experience your senses in the present moment.
Interesting.
And that's why sexuality can be so powerful, because if you allow yourself the freedom to experience all of your senses with another person, and sometimes you experience sexuality on your own too, but when you allow yourself the freedom of this moment, experiencing my senses right now, it is full presence. Like you are fully sitting in the presence of now, which can be really healing. And so using sensuality to root in the now can help you forget or help you manage messages of the past or worries of the future.
Yeah, and maybe even rewrite some, I would think, because you have a positive experience, and then to be able to see the juxtaposition of the two. No, that's really good. And I think there are some good things, like I was a child of the purity movement, and I also didn't have sex until I was married. My husband didn't either. And I think both of us would probably say something good that came out of it is that that wasn't something that then we had to work through as a married couple. So I don't want to throw the whole thing out. I think there were some good things. But the overarching theme that we sense is exactly what you're talking about. So what would you say then to parents who have children and they want to send a positive sex message, but also a positive message of that's not fear and shame based, but allows them to, I actually don't even know what to ask you here, because I want to say make their own choice, but I want to say like also then all my evangelical words are swarming through my head. So I'll just, do you know what I mean? It's like, I'm not even sure how to phrase that. My kid's only 9. So I'm looking to you so that in 5 years or whatever. But it gets that's a confusing piece there. I don't know, because to go back to what we said, it still is this huge deal. Sex before marriage. And which I would like to say, I thought it was also confusing that if you had a baby outside of marriage, the baby was like an abomination. But if you got married, the baby was good. That's a confusing message about children. If the baby
was conceived prior to marriage.
Yes.
But you did get married, then
it was fine. Yeah. So that's a confusing message about kids as well. I just would like to say.
I would just like to point this out. Yes. Affirmed. I want to validate that is a confusing message. I would like to break this down a little bit because there's some layered questions here. So when we talk about the messages that purity culture sent, I want to separate that from the idea that abstinence or abstaining from any type of sexual activity, whatever you want to define that as, can be empowering. Because what happened is we combined the two. We said abstinence is the only empowering way, and it is what makes you pure, and what keeps you safe. Okay, so if we take purity culture out and set that on a table, abstinence or celibacy or however you want to call that, or the choice to and I'm not even going to use the word remain. I don't like that word. The choice to abstain from certain sexual behaviors because you choose it and not because you're being influenced by an oppressive institution or parental structure, and a choice that's not based in fear or shame can be a very empowering choice. I would like to say
so
this.
Good. Yeah.
Right. So abstinence can be a very empowering choice, right?
Yep.
You cannot make that choice without a whole bunch of knowledge. And so purity culture took all the knowledge out of sex and just said abstinence is the only way because you will go to hell if you don't.
Sam says so.
Sam.
Yes. So for parents going forward, I have several recommendations.
That's so good, Celeste. I'm still thinking about that. That was so good. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm ready now to make my choice.
Yes.
Too late, but maybe I'll go back and tell my 12-year-old self.
No, and this is really good because we do have lots of young people and lots of even, 30, 20-year-olds. I mean, I've talked to them who want to make the choice to be abstinent, but they have done the work to figure out your own sexual values that are not based on oppressive idealizations of institutions or parental control. They have made this choice because they looked at all the knowledge, all the information and education, and they said, yeah, this is going to be the safest and the one that I want to do.
Totally.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Great. Right. So for parents, the number one thing I want you to think about right now is to get really comfortable with your own sexuality.
Yeah.
Like that is by far the best and first thing that you can do. Why are you uncomfortable talking about sex to your kids? Why is it uncomfortable to talk about sex with your partner? Why do you feel low libido? Why do you feel sexual shame? Okay. Heal those parts of yourself, or at least start that process so that you can have a conversation with your kids that starts early and matures as they mature. We're getting away from talks. We don't have sex talks. We have sex conversations and dialogue that starts early with vulva and penis and matures as they mature. So that by the time they're ready to make sexual decisions, they make healthy ones because you're a source of trusted information about sex and they have the knowledge that they need. So to make healthy decisions, we know that kids who have more information about sex make healthier sexual choices. So it makes sense that we would understand our own sexuality and then be able to impart knowledge upon our kids to empower them to make healthy choices for themselves. One thing that really bothers me is when I ask people about their conversations with their kids, they say, oh, my kid's just so innocent. Because the opposite of innocent is guilt. And if you think that, telling your kids about sex, like giving them sexual education is filling them with guilt, you might want to think about what sexual education is.
Right.
I'm on a soapbox. I'm so sorry. I'm like,
no, this
is getting hot and bothered. Like,
and you said when you said penis and vulva, you're talking about like using the correct anatomical terms from the beginning, not like
from the beginning.
I mean, I've heard some good ones. Yeah.
You can start integrating those in marriage. Like you can use whatever you want.
It'd be backpedaling.
No, I think that's
penis
so
and vulva.
True. If you make it it's like anything else. If you make it weird, it's going to be weird. And if you make it like, don't touch that, they're going to touch it. Like, I mean, it's just like, but like in a way that's like sneaky and weird and shame, not normal.
Right off the bat.
You're not taking away your kid's sexuality. You're making it so they don't trust you to talk to you about it.
Yeah. That's so true. That is so good. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I wish I wish that you were this person you are now writing my teen Bible. I was like, when I was...
Sam made his comment about the microwave, and then Celeste came in and was like, Sam, why don't you go home? You're drunk.
Someone on Facebook was like, but now we know that people that hurt cats are serial killers because of that Netflix documentary. And I'm like,
yeah, exactly. Sam? That's what it's going to be like. I'd really like to have an honest conversation with Sam about his own sex life because it sounds like it's pretty rough.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to find out who wrote that. I'm going to do some digging. I'm going to be like, hey, I'm just sending my friend Celeste. I'll pay for your session. And here you go.
Poor Sam.
I know.
Poor Sam. Deep. Everybody gets burned.
Everybody gets burned. Yeah. I mean, like, just even the thought of that is like, no, we're good. We're good here. So that's so good. I loved the idea. or the plan to separate those two. I think that's huge because you're right.
Yeah.
Purity culture took away the knowledge around it, the education around it. So it's sort of impossible. Like, and I can honestly say, I did not make a choice to abstain from sex based on knowledge. It was definitely on fear, for sure.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. And I think it's frustrating to me because I'll get backlash sometimes like, oh, you're totally not for abstinence. I'm like, I am for building your own sexual value system and helping you make your own choice. Like, you make your own choices based on the knowledge that you have. And a lot of times that is abstinence. We know that if you're abstinent, you're not going to get pregnant, and maybe you don't want to be pregnant, or like you're not going to get an STI. Great.
Great. Yeah.
So it's not about abstinence. It's about making sexual choices that feel the best for you based on the knowledge that you have that's not from oppressive institutions.
Yeah. No, I think that's so good. And I think that entering into marriage would be different. Like, what if we had this culture that did just like what you said? I had a lot of friends that were like, this is who I wanted to marry, whatever. But because they didn't, like, he already had sex, I feel like I can't marry them. And then I don't even think it was an actual logical thing they thought, right? I think it was just something they were told. So if we have an opportunity to shift the focus to education and healthy and connection conversations, as we, raise our children and work in churches and do stuff like that, then we absolutely should. I mean, I think it's part of our responsibility, I guess. You know what I mean? I mean, that's how I feel about it. But
I'm curious. I don't know if you know the answer to this or not.
She does.
Okay. Like European culture. So, you always hear like them commenting on American culture where they're just like, oh, Americans are such prudes about sex, about nudity, about X, Y, and Z. I wonder how much of this, I have no idea, and I don't know if this is relevant or not, but how much of this is a uniquely American, like, Christian issue, this idea of shame and
good call.
You know what I mean? Because it seemed like it really does kind of seem like it's a very American evangelical thing, but I don't know. And I don't know if you know. I'm just curious.
I mean, I can shed a little more light on it. I don't know that I have a complex answer. But for example, the Netherlands, they have incredibly comprehensive sex ed, and their teen pregnancy rate is 30% lower than ours. So we know that the more education that we can give that's comprehensive, that's not shame-based, the healthier choices, and the later people engage in sexual activity. But culturally, I mean, I have a virtual practice, so I see people in all parts of the world. Like right now I have a couple people in South Africa or Jamaica or different places like that. And culturally, America does not stand alone in this idea of puritanical, kind of sex education. So I wouldn't say it's exclusive to America, but I would say that there are countries as a whole that are doing better about giving comprehensive sex ed. I don't know if that helps answer the question.
No,
but
I was just curious.
Culturally, there are other places that have kind of this repressed educational system for sex.
And what about religions? Do you talk to people of other religions and feel like that's the same, or is the shame and fear mostly like in what we know as American Christianity?
No, I do talk to other religions. I have a few Muslim clients right now, Church of Latter-day Saints, Catholicism for sure, that have this very, very, very similar messaging around sex.
Yeah, that's so good. So answer me this. What is practical advice like to say, we talk a lot on our podcast about men's roles and women's roles and the stories that we hear and tell and blah, blah, blah. And I really resonated with the message of like, you're in charge, you're to blame of like a man's sexual sin or like what you wear. If he's like, you're a stumbling block, if he stumbles, that's your fault. And I think that's damaging in and of itself. And then what's tough about that, and this had been my experience, then when you get married, it's also confusing, right? Because it's this idea of like, okay, so wait a minute, now that's a good thing, and I should be creating these feelings in my husband, but then now I feel like a weird object, right? Like I feel like sex is about him and not about me. So what is the I guess my question is, like, some of this stuff is embedded in culture even beyond the church, right? Like there's like we see that like all the time. Like someone says I'm raped and they say it's because you drank. Or someone says this happened to me and they say, well, that's because you wore that skirt. So I don't think that's just in the church.
No.
But what is the best way besides saying, no, that's not true? We can like bring awareness to that and undo it, because it doesn't, nobody wins there. Do you know what I mean? The woman's not winning. We're not doing any favors to the men in that situation either. Yeah. So, like, I don't even know how to approach it because it gets me like so fired up. Oh, Celeste does. She does. Celeste, I'm calling on you.
I'm just like, bat is ready.
Yes.
Okay. So, so there are several things that we need to address when we talk about women being responsible for men's behaviors. What I hear you saying. So the first off is this idea of sex drive. So when I don't like this term drive. I think I'm going to write about this tomorrow. Yes. Sex drive, because that insinuates that sex is carnal and that it is uncontrollable, and that men especially are given this message that it's just an urge that you have to have, that you have to act upon. Right. And so the idea of sex drive is misleading and troublesome, because even though sex is biological, it is still a want, not a need, right? A need would be, I'm going to die if I don't eat food, like for me every 3 hours. I'm going to die if I don't drink water, and I'm going to die if I'm not protected from lions. Okay. Those are needs, right? Sex, yes, on a society level, we need some version of sex or procreation in order for our species to exist, but that still does not make it a need. It is still a want. I want my genes to be procreated. I want kids, right? I want those things. Great. But sex is not an emergency. Nobody ever died from blue balls, and sex is not something that...
You know what? I appreciate you saying that, because I also got that message. Yeah. Like, if this happens, if you guys like fool around, then they'll get blue balls, which no one really ever explained that to me. And then
that might be the hashtag for the episode.
Nobody ever died from blue balls, guys.
And like, it's so painful, and like that will be your fault.
Correct. And so that is the next thing. So we teach people that sex is a drive, that it's carnal, that it's instinctual. And if you even look at life, like lions and other mammals, there's 4,300 other mammals on this planet, species of mammals. They have sex once a month to procreate, right?
Right.
And only when their partner is ovulating.
Right.
So sex is not a drive that can't be controlled. It's not an emergency. Nobody's going to die if you don't have sex for the rest of your life.
Right. Because if anyone's acting on instincts, it's animals. I mean,
correct. Yes. My partner is ovulating. Now I'm going to try and put my peacock feathers up so she will choose me. Right. That's instinctual animal behavior. We just have to remove ourselves from the idea that men cannot control their sexual instincts. Right. Yeah. And so that's the first piece. Sex is not a drive. It's not instinctual. It's a behavior. It's a fun one. Right. We like to do it and it's pleasurable, but it is controllable. And so then the idea that we are responsible for this awful thing that's going to happen to them if we don't have sex with them starts to go away. Right. Because there are things that I, as a female, maybe want as well, but I can control that as well. So when we think about the idea of responsibility for women, we know, and this is from Esther Perel's work, we know that responsibility is the biggest killer of arousal. So when, if you've ever been laying in bed and you're supposed to be having sex and you're thinking like, oh, like maybe I should paint the ceiling linen instead of eggshell. that's responsibility, right?
Right.
And so take that another level up. If I feel responsible for your behavior as a male and your arousal as a male, like by how I dress or how I look or how sexy I am, my arousal is going to go down because I feel responsible for how you behave sexually. So it's like this vicious cycle.
That's got to be so prevalent.
Yes, it's so prevalent, which is why I'm so glad you brought this up, because responsibility is the biggest killer of arousal, and the idea of sex drives make us as women feel responsible. But I'm
boom, yes, Celeste for president. I love that because
wait, so can we follow through with that a little bit? I mean, as we add like practical tools to people, because I think that I guarantee there's a lot of people that have never heard what you just said.
Because no, it's so true. I had a lot of women write in and say, I feel like fulfilling my husband's sexual desire is my responsibility, but I find myself never wanting to do it, and I don't know why. And so that makes a ton of sense.
I think a lot of men don't even know how to ask that question because they don't even know
how to approach it. Yeah, because I don't think they want to say, this is my need. Excuse me, my want. Right. This is my want. And maybe even making sure we use the right language. Right. But how can they ask without making the woman feel responsible? That's a great question, too.
Yeah.
And two, well, also with that too, just like as a behaviorist, like what tools do you tell people in this specific lane of traffic, this specific conversation right here, like how to deconstruct all those years of, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of either suppression or, I don't know, just any of those things that build into that mindset, to build into that responsibility versus whatever.
And even
like,
the carnal
on both sides of the fence for men.
Yes.
All of that. Like, what are the behavioral tools that you give to people or exercises, I guess?
Yeah, because sometimes we're believing those without knowing we are.
Oh, yeah. And, we get real fired up, but most of the time people just don't know that that's going on within the context of their identity. Right. And so we always give compassion to that. Like, this is something that's probably going on that you don't even know about, like racism or, body inclusivity and all those things. Like we have these biases that live within us that we don't necessarily aren't aware of. So I'm just going to go back to those building blocks that we did. As a couple, when you become aware of where sex is and where you both want it to go, then you can start building in behaviors that helps both of you meet your needs. Maybe in sex, I want to feel connected. Maybe in sex, he wants to feel a stress relief or it's a way to cope for him. So how do we work together now so that I feel pleasure? Maybe as a woman, I want more outer course. We know that most women have most of their orgasms through clitoral stimulation, not vaginal stimulation.
Right.
So can we define sex differently? And foreplay now becomes my sex.
Right.
And so we work together as a couple to meet both of our emotional needs. Like, now you feel pleasure, I feel taken care of, you feel connection, I feel this, right? So going back to awareness and then starting the work on deconstruction, here are the messages that I'm currently living with, and how can we unravel those? Let's talk about them. Like, I really believe it's your responsibility to make me horny. Okay, well, let's unravel that, because we're actually just in charge of our own pleasure. For men and for women, for however you identify, you are in charge of your own pleasure. So that means you need to get to know your body really well. Typically men are a little bit better at this. But for men, typically it's harder for them to write down what they want to feel in sex. Whereas women can write down what I want to feel in sex, but God forbid you ask me how I want to be touched, because I have no idea.
Right.
Whereas a guy is really clear on how he wants to be touched, but sometimes it's harder for him to know how he wants to feel from that touch. So just really getting clear on what each of you want, which is going to be different for everybody. The idea that two people on this earth are going to want to have the same type of sex at the same time on the same day is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. So communication about meeting both of each other's needs is so, so important. But you can't do that unless you really sit down and figure out what you need in sex.
And what you believe. Like you said, I actually believe that you should do this for me, or whatever it might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's huge. Okay, I have another question but like we are a podcast, we talk about anything, and this came up a few times. Is someone was like, what's the deal with masturbation? Am I allowed to masturbate? Because I was told I never was.
Why do I only hear, when you frame it like that, I hear Jerry Seinfeld asking that question. What's the deal
with masturbation?
But like, and then some woman was like, and then a few women wrote in and were like, sometimes I've wanted to, but I was told that's only men's thing. It's like, I think that it's just, as usual, no education around it. So can you reframe that? Like, fix it, Celeste.
First, yeah. So I do want to hit theologically some of these things, Bonnie, because that's your lane. And I want you to speak to some of these things. But it is my non-theologian lens that I'm coming from this from. And that is that the only time anybody talks about masturbation or self-pleasure in the Bible is in Genesis 3:8, when they talked about Onan and how God told him to sleep with his dead brother's wife, and he instead spilled his seed. Mm-hmm. So we think that means my dude just pulled out and he didn't want to have sex with his dead brother's wife, or he didn't want to have children with her. So he pulled out and spread his seed on the ground, and then he was struck down by God. That's all different kind of, I don't think that's talking about masturbation. I don't think it's talking about masturbation. So other than that, there's no other citing of masturbation in the Bible at all. Mm-hmm. So my take is that understanding your own body is so paramount in helping with a partnered situation and your relationship with yourself. Let's talk just briefly about what it means to give informed consent. When you go to the doctor's office, you're given a big old sheet of these are the risks, these are the benefits, here's clearly what's going to happen to you, and here's clearly what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. That's informed consent. We should be using the word informed in front of every time we have consent, because you cannot give consent for something you don't know about. Right. So how are we supposed to give consent for other people to touch our clitorises when we don't know about them?
Right. That's a good point. That's a great point. Yeah.
So it's such a beautiful, useful tool to get to know your body. You have this whole organ, your clitoris, that is specifically made for pleasure. And I'll show you specifically made for pleasure. And so it is, here's my plastic one. So if you're listening on the podcast, you won't be able to see it, but I have a plastic one in my office. And when I believe that when God said he created us and we were not just good, we were very good, he meant every single part of our body.
Yeah.
And so to act like we shouldn't touch parts of our bodies, or that we shouldn't be allowed to, or something bad is going to happen, I think is just oppressive institutions inserting their way into our lives as women to police us, so we don't have the same amount of power.
Mm-hmm. Oh, interesting take, Celeste. Coming in right at the end there. I enjoy that.
Yes.
No, but I agree, because it's, and we'll have to wrap up here, but it silos what parts of us God claims as good. And silos what parts of us are welcome, and then therefore what parts of our lives can be good, welcomed. And anything that we feel should be on the outside of God's reign, God's goodness, God's approval, God's whatever in our lives, we will hide it and put it in a shame closet. And I would agree with you. I mean, I honestly haven't done a ton of theological work in terms of on sex stuff, mostly because, like you said, I just haven't been informed. I just, throughout my whole life. And then I got married. So it was well, whatever, I guess we don't talk about it now, but it's not true. And we have grown a lot, but that was the message for a long time, but I think when we're talking theologically about anything that we want to say, all of this is good, but this other part is bad, or you can't talk about that, or that's not acceptable, or whatever, I think that should be a red flag of any type of thing that God wants to sideline, and you know what I mean, that can be holy and that can be good and can be beautiful and pleasurable, and the idea that pleasure is good. I mean, I think that's often lost. For some reason, we've picked up the message that in order to be doing God's will or following God's path or like doing something well, it has to be hard and there has to be like this certain amount of suffering. And that's so wrong. And we imagine, because a lot of us have been given that message and then applied it to our sex lives. So if we can start to redeem that and understand that, like, no, God really is all about goodness and love and joy and light and pleasure, and like those are the things of him. Like, I think that can even just that mindset helps us reframe some of this stuff. So oh my gosh, Celeste, I'm so grateful. Tell everybody where they can find you. They can read all your stuff. They can book 7 appointments. Like, how can they get a hold of you?
7 is the holy number.
Yeah, so we'll start there.
I think I can do it in 4. This is my competitive moment.
I'm so good.
So yes, you can find me at drcelesteholbrook.com. That's drcelesteholbrook.com. And you can find me on Instagram with the same handle and on Facebook. If you go to my website, there's a button to click for 20 sex enhancing questions. I say, if you're starting your journey, start there. Just click, get the 20 sex enhancing questions and start a conversation with your significant other. Cool. You can sign up for a free discovery call on that website where you and I will just have a conversation about what's going on, how I may be able to help, or how I may be able to redirect you to the right resources. And then you can also join, for people who identify as female, you can join my Circle of Sensual Women group on Facebook, and there's a button to join that too.
I'm joining that.
Yeah, please do.
Right now.
We need your voice, Bonnie. We need your theology.
No, you probably need all my questions. I'm like, hi, Sam said. I was wondering.
Oh my gosh, Sam. Oh,
I'm going to get an email from you like, you need to cool it with the Sam stuff, okay? That's for therapy.
I imagine Sam to be like a 103-year-old old white man, like, who wrote about cats and, cats and microwaves.
Woof. I'm like so disturbed now by the Netflix documentary and the connection there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh
my gosh. Okay, it's called Don't F with Cats.
Yeah.
And it's about this guy who was like posted these YouTube videos and he like hurt cats. Like he like killed them and hurt them. And all these people like tried to find him and they like alerted the authorities and they're like, you have to catch this guy. That's serial killer behavior. And nobody did. And then he did kill someone. And then they caught him.
Whoa.
I know. And so now like he probably actually did put a cat in the microwave. It's Sam.
All that repression.
Yeah. We now solved the mystery.
We did.
Sam was the Don't F with Cats killer.
He was. He was
a copywriter for the teen NIV and ended up a serial killer.
And he's in jail now. So
he's in jail now. You're all safe.
Well, that was full circle.
That was like quite a callback joke, and I really appreciate that and enjoy that kind of humor.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Celeste. You guys, please go visit, and then you can send her any questions. If you guys have any questions for her, you can write into the show. We'll forward it on to her, or you can comment on social media, and she can be looking or tag her, because that would be awesome too.
There we go.
Yes, the world of the internet. So I'm like, oh yeah, just tag them. I forget that can happen.
Like, send a carrier pigeon. We'll send smoke signals. We'll get it all sorted out.
Tag me. I will formate an email. And then we'll get rid of that foreplay and you just go straight to Celeste.
Yes. There we go.
There we go. I used your foreplay joke, and now I'm blushing. Okay, good. Anyways, thank you so much. We're so glad you're on. You came on, and we're so thankful for the work you're doing. It's so, so important. So thank you.
Thank you. It means a lot to me for you to trust me with this material. So thank you. I love you both, Tim and Bonnie. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course. All right. Gosh, like that was so informative. It was so funny because when we were emailing her, and my original intent was to kind of go theologically. And then as we were emailing her, and even as she was talking, I was like, I personally have so much to undo with how much even the story, like biblical stories, or where it talks about sex or where it talks about any of that stuff, is with purity culture in my head, if that makes sense. Like it's such a background for me. And so even when she said that part, when she said you have abstinence and then you have purity culture and we've made them one thing, but we need to separate them. For me, even that, just like a light bulb went on of going, oh, how much am I reading purity culture into scripture? And what is it really saying? So I hope we have her on again. And she was saying she's doing some work on like Song of Solomon and stuff. But we could have her on again and then talk about it from a theological view once we spend some time separating it out in our brains.
It's an interesting theological conversation, not just in this arena. It's definitely very interesting in this arena. But I felt like just what you just said, like how much of whatever current culture I was in growing up laid the foundation for my theology. You know what I mean? Like it's backwards, like the culture dictating and building the framework for how I would believe about something. And now it's just like deconstruction has become a buzzword or whatever. It's been used a million times in the last 5 years. And now people are turned off by that term, but it is an accurate term for what it is. Yeah. Picking apart all the stuff that we've been given and trying to find what the real. But this is exactly that, right? Like exactly how you just said it, the purity culture and the way it was presented by the church and youth groups and whatever in the 90s. Right. Like literally laid the foundation that this is truth for, you know, the theology of sex or God's idea of sex. And obviously, like we talked before about Josh Harris and the I Kissed Dating Goodbye, and just like the how interesting it is that the church, I mean, it's not interesting. It's the church in that time period, but taking a 22-year-old who had never really been in a relationship and letting him dictate the entire culture's understanding of sex. Yeah. It's just wild.
Oh, I'm sure even he was like, I didn't ask for that. You know, like I didn't. Well, and what's fascinating though, what you just said, like really hit me. So a lot of times arguments you hear for women in the church, even for the LGBTQ, is like usually it has to do with more inclusive arguments. And what happens is the more conservative side says, all you're doing is letting culture dictate your viewing of scripture. All you're doing is letting culture dictate your viewing of scripture. And I find that so fascinating, that argument, because this would be a counter going, haven't we all done that at some point? Like, this is a perfect example. Like, I was never educated from a biblical standpoint what the Bible said about sex. About it. Right.
It was such a taboo.
Yeah, it was.
Mike was the first pastor I ever heard speak from the pulpit about sex, and I think I was married at that point. I mean, I was definitely well into my late 20s, and I was like, "Whoa, what?"
Yeah, I remember being like,
did he just start talking about that at church? Yeah, I was like, we're not allowed to talk about this.
Do they know this is coming?
Yeah.
I know. But that was so the culture, too, of, I mean, we talked about that, too. And so you just think, like, gosh, like, we have done that so many times. And so it's really not fair to act like only one side does it. Does that make sense? Because like Absolutely. She said, when there's a lack of education, we're not looking at the root of something. So if we're all trying to find a doctrine, and we're all trying to find a standpoint, and we're looking at the root of it, and we're being educated, what does the text say? What was the culture then? What are the languages? All of those things, that's education. And then we can make our own sort of belief system. And we'll always find something in culture that agrees or disagrees with it. But when we're just approaching an issue and we're only letting culture inform it for good or bad, you know, that's not okay no matter what you do. I just think it's so funny that it's fine when it supports everybody's own viewpoints, and it's not fine when it goes against them, if that makes sense.
No, totally. We said, no, don't let the culture out there dictate it, but we're going to let the culture in here, not grounded in any form of, or at least full truth, dictate it.
Right.
It's wild. But it all makes me think about just this Vox journey and like Mike's just stuff with spiritually homeless and like not like I don't find a home here and I don't find a home there, and in my head that has always been a conversation about like we're pushing everything aside, and we're going to figure out what the truth is together, because we are finding that there's contradictions here and there and here and there, and
Right.
it's like now we're like, all right, like, what does it mean to reposition? What does it mean to have a posture that's facing Jesus and trying to listen to that and understand what absolute truth is on all these different topics? And so this, like, when she was talking, I was just like, yeah, this is just part of that. Like, this is part of that peeling away and just being like, all right, well, what is the real version? Like, because she's like, we're built for pleasure and God likes pleasure. She said something to that effect. I'm horribly misquoting her, but something to the effect of like, pleasure is not bad.
Right. Yeah.
Pleasure is not wrong. And we're built for that intentionally by God. So, but now we have so much shame. And like you said, a lot of people wrote in with like I feel guilty in marriage. Yeah. Like engaging with my partner in this. And it's like, man, that's so, what a bummer.
So messed up. I know. It's like, oh my gosh. And it's so sad because like when I say messed up, I mean, not for that person, but like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe this is a result. Like this was the fruit of that. And now we're seeing it 20 years later. I mean, it's like, we do that so many times. We just like instill these hard and fast rules. And we see that everywhere. We're like, we have the food pyramid. We're like, everybody should eat 12 servings of grains. And then 20 years later, we're like, whoops, everyone has celiacs now. It's like, everything is so fast and hard. It's like, it's hard. It's difficult to, find the nuance in it, and I think that takes a lot of work. And let us know, you guys, if you do want another conversation with her, because one thing I wanted, and maybe would come up in Song of Solomon, but when we were discussing, and I've been thinking about it after a few days, is approaching the topic like, instead of looking at the Bible says this, I can do this about sex, like she was talking about that about masturbation. She's like, it only says this one thing. That's like, there's so many gray areas here. And so what if we could say, like, if we had a view of scripture of it's pointing us towards wisdom, it's not this thing that we're saying, it says I can do this and it says I cannot do this and it says this, but like, what's the wisdom of this passage? And in this moment, and who I am or who my kids are, how can I be pointed towards wisdom? I think that is a much better lens to try to figure out some of these things than specifically going through and looking for these like cut and dry black and white answers.
Yeah. I'm trying to find, I went through at some point for Mike and like listed out all of our episodes by number. So we had a list to reference right away. Because this, we have talked about, Mike has gone into this, and he did a great series on sex, love, and God. Yeah. If you go backwards, there's a 7-part series starting with episode 106 through 106 through 116. That doesn't match up correct. Oh, there's some other things in the middle of there, but there's a bunch of stuff on sex and love and God that Mike did as a series, which was I think the original, this is not the original series that I had heard, but it's the same, like it's him revisiting that.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I wonder, were we at Rock Harbor at the same time? Is that where you heard it? What year was? Because that's where I heard it too. We must have been. That's
Rock
so weird.
Harbor was in the senior center when I first came.
Oh, they just had moved to the new building when I got there.
Yeah, and I was there for a few years when that.
So I was like 04 is when I started.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because I got married in 2005, so.
Oh, okay, yeah. So right then. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. So.
Well, this is, I don't know, this is I think my biggest fear with this is that we said in the beginning, like some of this might be triggering for some of you, and my fear is that those triggers are so old and so deeply rooted that some of you, your initial reaction is going to be to just kind of push that aside, or to not sit with it, or to not kind of question it or challenge it. And I hope that we're trying to create a place. I know this is such an uncomfortable topic to talk about, but we're trying to create environments where we can have these conversations more often and more openly. And so,
but even if it's people knowing they have a place if they need it, but encouraging, like, we got into this problem because we didn't communicate about it.
Exactly.
And so I think it starts with communication with yourself. Like she said, like write everything down. What am I feeling? And then with your partner, what is it that you're feeling?
Yeah.
What do we want? And she does have that free resource on her website. So,
yeah.
And that would be a great thing. Even if you guys did that together and then you took it to your small group or your friends, like you had other friends, like other married couples, maybe you guys wanted like talk about it together, like whatever, or to your therapist or whatever. But like that is a great tool, I think, to get a conversation's going. But Tim's right. Like what we don't want to do is talk about these things and then just be like, that feels like too much work. And so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah. And like what I hate at church is stirring the pot on something and then just being like, all right, peace. Like, have
so
a good
that's
week.
like, we would love to hear emails about like, hey, this is where that hit me and I would love a follow-up of this. Because like, I think you and I both
friends or
could see like that would be nice. Like, let's have a follow-up conversation of, hey, this stirred this up. So now let's talk about this. Because she already said she would be happy to be on it again. So it would be awesome to have some idea of how this hits you guys and to know that you're not alone and we're here.
Yeah. And you guys, it was awesome to see just the reaction, the feedback when, Bonnie, when you put it on Facebook and Instagram, and how many people were like, yeah.
Yeah, like I need this. I
both
can't wait.
Men and women and a lot of different age groups, because obviously this is, this relates to pretty much everybody. At wherever you are in life and wherever you are relationally, you're probably in some form or function a sexual being.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, and I think confirmation too, like one of the reasons why I love doing that, where you can put the box and then you put up the answers and it's anonymous, is so many people say like, oh, I'm so glad I'm not the only one that feels that way. Because I think in your head, sometimes you think like, I feel this way and I don't think it's right, but I don't really know why I feel this way or why I have this shame or why I have this fear.
Absolutely.
And I think there was something messed up about that thing I learned, but I'm not really sure. And so it's like, so to hear it, like other people be like, yes, no, that's not you, is super helpful. Yeah.
All right. Well, maybe Bonnie, when we put the link to this, which you guys are already listening to, but we'll put the link to her,
yes, absolutely.
her website with the,
and then you can do
tools and
email us at
tim@voxpodcast.com or hello@voxpodcast.com. Yeah. Awesome. So, please communicate, and we have some fun, different guests coming up in the next couple of weeks. Bonnie's been going bananas and getting some super cool and interesting people that are just, for some reason, just continually saying, yeah, I'd love to come on
and
there.
I'm like, oh my gosh, I should buy a lotto ticket.
We're excited.
I know.
Yeah. Bonnie's hitting home runs right now. So.
Okay, and I got the best message. So I'm going to do the blessing. Okay, don't die of shock.
Yeah.
This sweet lady, Susan, wrote me, and she's like, hey, Bonnie, thanks for all that you're doing on the Vox podcast. It's important work, and you're speaking into the lives of so many people. Thank you, Susan. I just wanted to give you a great resource, so next time you need to read a blessing, you can pull one out of your hat or messy bun. And I appreciate that so much. Okay, so I'm just going through, and I'm just gonna grab one. Okay.
All right.
Maybe this could be.
Is it like a roulette wheel where you just spin it and wherever it lands?
Wouldn't that be amazing? But it's
may your fields be bountiful.
Okay, this is from Romans 15:13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope. I like that too. So thank you, Susan. Now I have an actual resource, and I'm not like, oh, I don't know any blessings every week. Oh my gosh.
What was the last line of it?
Oh shoot. No.
Did you lose it?
No, don't you worry. I can.
Maybe may you abound in hope, or.
May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit you may abound in hope.
I like that.
Yeah.
Let's leave it on that, folks. May you abound in hope this week.
Yep.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.